what is it actually that you guys do, like your work?
How do you explain the work?
Yeah, how do you explain your work? Yeah.
Well, this is what I call my elevator speech, which has taken me years to develop because it's difficult to explain what it is that we do.
Yes.
But we go with people together to the places in the past that are painful or scary or hurtful or traumatic, and we stay there with presence and curiosity and patience until it transforms into the lesson of love that has actually always been waiting for our attention.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as that occurs, everything changes. Because until that happens, we spend our entire lives trying to figure out another way of staying away from and avoiding those very places.
Yeah.
So I think the growing up aspect of what we do is taking responsibility for that. Those are my hurts.
Yeah.
And it's about revealing those hurts so those hurts can be those hurts can be healed.
Okay. Okay.
Well, absolutely. What Paul is saying is true in terms of the work. I guess I think sometimes for people, I don't think it always comes from this sense of pain and sorrow. I mean, we all have everything.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the work is, I've listened to a lot of advice on marketing and all of this type of thing. And it's like, you've got to narrow down your target audience.
Yeah.
And yet we're in a position where we work with everybody. We work with anybody who has a desire for their lives to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And sometimes that comes from, I reached a crossroads in my life. And again, for me, I guess, for me, what has the most meaning, that sounds a little weird, but it's helping people find that meaning.
Yeah.
Helping people understand you have a purpose in being here. Life is not without, I think there are a lot of people who are in the position of, well, what's it all about? I know I've been in that position several times in my life where some crisis has occurred, or there's just a sense of I've been doing the same thing for a long time, and it's like, is this all there is?
Yeah.
Well, my answer is no. No, absolutely not. There's so much more. So it's just coming at it. It's not contradictory. It's just more. This is how Paul explains it. This is how I explain it, and they're both true.
Yeah, which is why we work together.
Yeah.
It's true too.
You complement each other.
We do.
Yeah.
Well, somebody once described it. Just tell the
Go ahead.
Someone once described it as, okay, well, see, it's like Paul is this balloon.
Okay.
And James the one holding the string to make sure it doesn't go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I experienced it too. The first time it was like Paul was like the loose cannon.
Well, but you also got a much bigger picture in a way, and I'm more grounded on the earth than Type of thing.
And here I always thought I was the one holding the pin.
Yeah.
That's
Well, there's a lot of different metaphors that could be applied here.
I think you've evolved since then.
We have been given so much misinformation from the time we were born.
Yeah.
That it's hard to fathom how much misinformation we've been given.
Yeah.
We've been told that our purpose in life is to get a good education.
Yeah.
And then get a good job.
Yeah.
And then get married. And then make a family. And then take care of that family. And make good investments. And retire.
In the Western world.
And be happy.
Yeah.
I mean, those are Western ideals. Right?
And at the same time, the Western world is like the ideals are expanding across the globe.
Know.
Yes.
Okay. Spreading.
Yes, spreading.
Yeah.
And what happens is we do all that and we reach the age somewhere between 30 and 40 and 50 and we go, What? It's not enough. I'm not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I blame it on my relationship, or I blame it on my job, or I blame it on my education, or I blame it on my kids.
On society.
Or the government, whatever.
There's another piece in this too, which is, and if I don't have those things, therefore I am not a success. I'm not, I don't have the same value as someone who has all those things, and all of that.
So all these comparisons going on.
Yeah.
Okay, I've always believed that we all have a purpose in being here.
Yeah.
And I've defined that purpose, for me, as everybody here has a specific, unique talent or gift that they need to discover and share with the world. And in that discovery and sharing with the world comes our highest happiness and our greatest sense of fulfillment. And that's what we're about.
Yeah.
And we do that, we develop that, and we discover that in our relationships with others.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ultimately it comes down to understanding that our true joy is knowing that we're in service to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think it is a shame that there's so many people walking around believing they're not good enough and being so absorbed in the not good enough that they're not able to step up in the way that Paul's.
Yeah.
I think it's also unfortunate. There's many people walking around thinking that they can only be in service to themselves.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a question of education.
Yeah.
It's a question of broadening the horizons.
Mm-hmm.
And my greatest happiness comes from actually doing this work because I make a difference in the lives of the people that I touch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm really happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, I benefit because every time somebody gets an aha, I get the same aha, which I think is a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and you're getting paid for it.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. So, this whole sharing the secret world, like the secret inner world of ourselves, where we keep everything hidden from everyone and where we feel very guilty about it. That ties in very well with like the workshops and the courses that I have done and other people, because it's largely in group settings. Right? Yeah. So then I show that stuff that I'm terribly ashamed of myself to the others. And instead of them running away or getting mad at me, they
say thank you.
Yeah, they say thank
I've
you.
got the same thing.
Yeah. Or they give me a hug, or they say, "Oh, that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that." So yeah.
Well, coming back to the principles of A Course in Miracles, the Course says there's only one problem, and that is that we believe that we're separate from each other, that we're separate from ourselves, that we're separate from our source, the universe itself, that somehow we have succeeded in cutting off from or losing or forgetting that. Now, to me, it's only a logical progression to say that if you're alive, how could you possibly be separate from life, the universe, and everything? But on a much more practical level, the solution to the belief of that is taking a look at the beliefs that I have about that and experiencing my connection with others. And we do that by being honest and open and vulnerable and discovering that other people can be too.
Yeah.
And discovering in these groups that I've got one of those too. I've got that same crazy thought that says, I've never been good enough. I've always have to be perfect and it's never enough. Man, oh man. The crazy thoughts that we have, we all share and they're all the same. I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy.
And they're very limited, actually. I think there's only about 10 universal thoughts about self that are that negative.
Yeah. Yeah, that ties very well in that idea of like how the more personal something gets, the more universal it is.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So the form you've chosen to do your work in, can you tell us something about that? So why did you choose for the form you have right now?
Oh, okay. Well, we probably have two different answers again.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So for me, if I look at my own sort of spiritual journey or evolution, I think I was always spiritual, but I didn't know what to do with it. I come from a family that was it's not just practical. It's like my father was an engineer. My brother became an engineer. My mother was very concerned with material things, good reasons. But I wasn't. I just wasn't. And so, I was often told, you're off with the fairies. You're always off with the fairies. And I think as a child, that was my trying to figure the world out, trying to figure pieces out. I could never identify with the church or any form of organized religion.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not criticizing them in any way. It just didn't fit me.
Mm-hmm.
When I read The Course in Miracles, I noticed that it made a big difference in my thinking, but I still wanted more. And the more that I wanted was, okay, I don't need to understand this stuff. I need to be able to be this stuff in the world. And so that's what my passion is taking what is the truth, wherever it comes from, but what is the truth? What do I truly resonate with? And how can I be that in the world so that, it's one thing, we have all these grand statements about what's right, what's wrong, what's good. But to actually be it when you're triggered, to actually be able to look at things like all the war that's happening right now, the climate change, the cruelty that you see to children, to animals, to each other, to be able to look at that and say, okay, I've got to see it differently in order for me to be able to be effective, to make a difference in this. And so practical tools, that's what our work is about. Practically, how do you deal with whatever's happening in your life in such a way that this, you come back to this sense of value. I can make a difference here. My life makes a difference. My life is valuable. So is yours. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what came to me when you asked me.
Okay. And you, Paul?
I forget the question.
So, how did you come to choose this form for the work?
Well, it's, as Jane says, and you're right, I'm going to say it differently. Our focus is actually the practical application of the basic principles of A Course in Miracles or universal truth.
Yeah.
And what that means is, again, to me, this is so logical and simple. If there's only one truth, then our experience of it, no matter who we are, no matter what culture we're from, no matter what language we speak, no matter our background or our education or our upbringing, our experience of it must be identical because there's only one of them. And our interpretation will be different from each other because of all those things I mentioned. Our explanation will be different from each other because of all those things we mentioned. But the experience itself is identical. And we all have access to that experience in this lifetime. And part of my job is to remind people of that.
And the form is?
And the form is, we use workshops, we use one-on-one counseling and coaching, we use trainings where we focus in on what is our story in life, how are our relationships in life. And relationships doesn't just include people, it also includes money, our relationship with money, our relationship with our kids, our relationship with our own body, ourselves, our relationship with our sexuality. Those are all relationships that are based on interpretations and beliefs that we've acquired or inherited. And it's about looking at those soberly and asking yourself, well, is this true?
But can I jump in?
Is it really true? How do I know that?
Yes. I think the key, so in terms of choosing the form that we use is experiential. So we can talk about these concepts and we can agree on these concepts, but until you felt it and experienced it, it doesn't get integrated. So we can share experience. We can't really share theory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the work we do is very much that. We design processes and we use processes that help people recognize, oh, wow, this is where, what I always thought was this is actually this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I am good enough, or maybe there is a bigger meaning,
Yeah,
or whatever it is, but it comes from experience, not from talking.
Yeah, I agree. Good.